Hello. Hey, all you beautiful, beautiful 5 day challengers. You made it. It's day 5, and we're here. I just want to recognize you for the significant work that you've done this week. It's been short, but it's been significant. It's been uh, an important thing that you're doing. You're here for a reason. God called you to this because you know that there's something that is missing in your life. There's something that matters that isn't happening, or you wouldn't be here. I don't believe in coincidences at all. I believe that things happen for a reason. So thank you for being here, and thank you for sticking with 5 days in a row. That can really be a challenge. So I kudos for you. Give yourself a pat on the back for sticking with it. So, first of all, today, I want to review how far we've come. In day 1, we listed the top 3 things that matter to you. In day 2, you basically took a step into it and made a vision for yourself of what life could be like if you were to do the things that matter in your life. And don't take that lightly. It's really important to be able to feel what you're working towards and know then your mind and your body will move towards that. So don't lose sight of that feeling and that dream, if you will, that's on your heart. It will help keeping you moving forward. In day 3, you identified the things that are getting in the way of you doing the things that really matter in your life. And again, that's a really important step. It's a constant action of letting go of all the things that hold us back. God has a beautiful plan for us, but if we don't make space for that, it won't ever happen. Day 4, yesterday, we created a plan for how you were going to pick one of those things that you liked, you wanted to do, that really mattered to you, and you created that plan for how you were going to actually let go of something so that you could make space for something that matters. I told you that that day 3 was my favorite, and it is important, and I do love the concept of letting go because I've let go of so many things, beliefs, hurts, forgiveness, so much in my life. But it wasn't until I started preparing for today that I realized that I do love that day, but today is even more important. This message today is like a game changer. Like most of us, there's a little bit of stress or resistance to making changes in our life. We're used to being busy, we're used to our routines, and there's a reason why they're called habits, is because we just do it without even thinking of it. And anytime we try and make a shift, we kind of, our brains are like, no, we like doing it this way. And so there's going to be some resistance there. And I'm guessing that the little voice in your head probably sounds something like, you don't have time for this. Besides, what good's it going to do? You can't just walk around doing the things that you love to do because you're going to hurt somebody. There's somebody that needs you doing what you're doing. Does that sound familiar? Yeah, we all have that little story, that little reel rolling in our head. And I just want to remind you that it's important to take care of ourselves and fulfill the needs within our life, to get rest, to allow ourselves space in our life so that we can be there for the ones that we love. If you'll remember back in Mark 6, verse 31, Jesus took the apostles away so that they could find rest in their busy schedule too. That was right before he took them up on the mountain. And we need to create that space in our lives too, so that we can have the energy to do the things that matter. Even when we love our jobs, our lives, our families, and everything seems to be going so well, we can still get really busy and we can still feel stress. And we know that we need to let up and make time for ourselves, but we feel guilty when we do that. So we really don't back off. We just keep saying, oh, I'll just plug through, I'll just push through. But God designed us for rest. He designed us to have space. He even tells us, to take a day of Sabbath. But I believe that we need to even incorporate moments of Sabbath throughout our day and just give ourselves time to have peace and quiet in our day so that we can listen to him speaking to us. So just want to kind of go on now and talk about a little bit how, he laid desires in our hearts, and when we don't fulfill those desires that he lays in our hearts, we feel empty and we feel unfulfilled and we feel that longing for something more in our lives, right? And sometimes if we don't take the time to take the rest that we need and to step back and spend time in the Word and meditate on the Word and spend time in prayer, we miss out on the messages and what he's telling us is really our most important next step. We need to get quiet with him to really know where we're headed with that. So just when you accepted Christ into your life, he gave you the Holy Spirit. He lives within you, and he's there to guide you one step after another. And we have this huge need to want to know what the whole plan looks like in every step. But we don't need to know that. All we need to know what the next step is. And the best way to know that is to be quiet in the Word and in prayer so that he can give us that. Every one of you in this group said that faith was in a relationship with Jesus was in your top 3 things that you value. And honestly, the secret to that longing, that thing that your soul is longing for, is to develop a relationship with Jesus. When we have the Holy Spirit in us, we want to. Fulfillment isn't in the money and the things and all of that. Fulfillment is in the fruit of the Spirit, the love, joy, peace, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Those are the things that really fulfill us. But it's up to us. As I mentioned earlier in the week, we get to choose. We can just keep running around hurried and doing things just because they're in front of us, or we can make space for the things that we really value. And when we do that, then we start having a positive impact on the people in our lives. People see that. They notice when you're at peace with your life and with yourself, and they start picking up on that, and they wonder what's going on, and they gravitate toward that. So you get to choose. You can either continue to wander and wonder, or you can step into that peace and fulfillment. God gave you a gift. Don't bury that gift under a rock. Think of the talents and the one servant that buried the 1 talent under the rock, and then the one that had 2 and 5 went out and made more of it. He wants you to do the same thing. He doesn't want you to hide your talents. Find out what it is and share it with the world. We all have a calling in our life, and our calling is to share this amazing gift, this gift of faith that we have with the people in our lives. And it's hard to do. I know that. And if you don't mind, I know this is getting a little long, but I want to share a little story with you. Years ago, almost 20 years ago, I had a situation where I lost someone really important to me in my life. And I'll never forget the day that it happened. I was in a conference call, sitting at my desk, and that was way back before the days of cell phones. And my executive director, for whatever reason, was in her office, and I was on my phone in my office, and our attorney was on the call, and we were hashing through something really important. And as we were on the call, a call came through, or it popped up on my screen, and it was my husband calling. And I didn't think that much of it. He called about lunch or something frequently, so I didn't think anything of it. And then a few minutes later, my dad's number popped up. Dad never called me at the office. What the heck? I didn't, whatever, I'll call him later. And then a couple minutes later, my husband called again. And I was like, oh, something's not right here, right? So I got up and went into the other room and called my husband, like, what's going on? Well, he told me that my cousin had died. And bad experience, horrible, all of that. But the worst part of all of that for me was the fact that I didn't know if she knew Jesus. And that whole experience for me helped me realize that I couldn't live the rest of my life I never wanted to experience that again. So anybody that I loved, I wanted them to know who he is and that we can have eternity with him if we'll accept him. And folks, that's really the most important thing. No matter what we do, what our calling is, where we go, it's the most important thing is to make sure that the people we love have that relationship with Jesus and know about it. If we don't tell them, we may be the only person that can tell them. So I made a promise to myself at that moment. And that promise now, almost 20 years later, has blossomed into my life's work. Now, you don't have to completely change and reinvent your life to make that happen. You can do that exactly where you are. You can share that with your friends. You can share that with your family. For heaven's sakes, have you talked to your children? Do they know? Make sure they know. This is your legacy. Tell your grandchildren. Make sure that they're going to be there with you. I have a really dear friend who is probably listening, and she and I talk about these things a lot. And she's a hairdresser. And, you know, we were talking one day recently about this whole thing about sharing the word and finding our purpose and all of that. And she said something that was really beautiful to me. She said, you know, every day when I go to work, I just pray that God will, whoever is in my chair, if they have a need, he will help me be aware of that, and he will help me help them with that need. And folks, that's really all that it's about. We don't have to go searching for anything. They're right there in front of us. And it may not be starting with the gospel. It may be starting with a need for just a friend to talk to, or maybe it's serving at the food pantry, or whatever it is. You know, somebody just might be having a bad day and they just need somebody to help them through that. Whatever it is, that's our calling. That's our mission right there. So I encourage you to pray and meditate and find out where God's calling you to come to. I know that's a big ask. I know that it's scary, but he will give you both he will equip you to do it, and he will give you the courage and the strength to do it. If that sounds like it's too much, or you're now inspired to do something and you're really not sure how you're going to do that, I would love to have a conversation with you about basically how you can create the life that matters in your way. I call it my Live the Life That Matters breakthrough session, and I created it just for this group, this community. And in that conversation, it takes about an hour. And in that conversation, you'll get a sense of clarity about what really matters in your life. You'll discover the essential blocks for having that life that matters. And you'll determine the number one thing that's holding you back, really holding you back from having that life. And you'll identify the powerful actions that will keep you moving forward to creating that life and having an impact on the world. And when you leave that conversation, and it may never lead to anything else, you and I may never talk again after that, or we may, it doesn't matter, because we won't unless it's exactly right for both of us. But in that conversation, you will walk away knowing exactly what to do next, what your next step is to create that life that matters. Folks, we don't know how much time we have left. We don't know how many days our loved ones have left. Don't wait another day to reconnect, or maybe even connect for the first time with that thing that matters, those things that matter in your life. I would love it if you would leave your comments below about what you liked about this series, or maybe something you wanted to hear more about in the series, or suggestions on how I can improve it. I would love your ahas, your insights. And I just want you to know that I so appreciate that you spent the time with us here. And I just ask that if this inspires you in any way, and that you would maybe share it with someone, invite them into the community, or have them connect with me, and I can show them how to get in. I know it's a little tricky, and I apologize for that. Technology can be challenging. We all know that. But I just am so grateful for you, and I do applaud you for being here and following that whisper in your ear that called you for something more. So thank you for coming. Go, be blessed, be a blessing to others, and live your more.